Right, let's jump straight into this. As an independent financial analyst, I am constantly looking out for economic risks. But the source material we're digging into for today's explainer, it presents a theory that is absolutely fascinating and honestly a little alarming. It's all about how the Federal Reserve plans to manage economic data going forward. We're going to deconstruct exactly how data manipulation, complex banking regulations, and global conflicts are all colliding right now.
So, the real question we have to ask ourselves right off the bat is this: why is your money about to be worth a lot less? How exactly might these upcoming geopolitical shifts and honestly kind of subtle changes in banking rules secretly devalue the US dollar? Now, I know it sounds like a conspiracy, but as we'll see through the source material, it's really just complex financial mechanics playing out in real time.
To survive the coming inflation, we have to understand the Fed's playbook. We're breaking this down step by step, starting with 1, the tech versus military conflict, 2, controlling the economic data, 3, banks and hidden money printing, 4, the bond market rebellion, 5, the oil price X factor, and finally, 6, the investor survival guide. Section 1, the tech versus military conflict and shifting global priorities. Okay, so to really understand how the Fed intends to set interest rate policy, we have to start by looking at a major macroeconomic theory from the source. It outlines a massive global tug of war between two huge sectors. On one side, you have the traditional military-industrial complex, which kind of relies on this forever war model. But on the other side, you have the technological industrial complex. And why are they clashing? Well, because this massive new AI and data center buildout we're seeing requires absolute global stability and cheap energy to function. You literally cannot fund an AI revolution with sky-high interest rates that are being driven by wartime inflation. Tech needs stability. Stability means ending conflicts, which drops oil prices, and that gives the Fed the green light to lower rates.
Moving to Section 2, controlling the economic data and rewriting the Fed's rules.
Listen, if you want to change interest rates, you have to control the narrative. And incoming Fed Chair Kevin Warsh is doing something wild here. He's actively dropping forward guidance. That's the traditional thing where the Fed tells the market what they'll do next, using tools like the dot plot. By refusing to offer projections, Warsh is deliberately taking away certainty. He's basically telling investors, hey, you're on your own. And in finance, when you take away certainty, investors are absolutely going to demand a risk premium. But the data control goes way deeper than that. Warsh wants to ditch old lagging survey data and use real-time AI-driven data. Here's a crucial point. If the Fed transitions to a metric like the trimmed mean PCE, they can completely flip the script. This measurement literally just chops off extreme outliers, like crazy volatile oil prices, from the inflation math. The source notes that by shifting how inflation is measured, the Fed can basically engineer a storyline that inflation is totally under control, giving them the ultimate excuse to slash interest rates. Section 3, banks and hidden money printing, laundering quantitative easing. So let's play this out. Let's assume they successfully use that newly curated data to justify lower rates. How do they actually print the money to stimulate the economy without it glaringly showing up on the Fed's balance sheet? Well, this brings us to a somewhat obscure banking rule called the Supplemental Leverage Ratio, or SLR. It came out of the 2008 financial crisis, and it limits how much a bank can hold relative to its own capital. But if you tweak this rule just a bit, it becomes a stealth vehicle for monetary emission. Here is how this builds into the ultimate loophole, and it's kind of brilliant. Step 1. The Fed deregulates commercial banks by exempting U.S. Treasuries from that SLR rule. Step 2. Suddenly, banks are free to borrow with massive leverage. Step 3. The banks use all that leverage to scoop up the Treasury bonds the Fed is trying to offload. Step 4. Boom, stealth quantitative easing. The Fed gets to shrink its balance sheet and tell everyone it's fighting inflation, all while highly leveraged commercial banks flood the market with liquidity. They are essentially laundering the money printing straight through the commercial banking sector. Section 4, the bond market rebellion, the flaw in the machine. But hey, as objective risk analysts, we gotta look at the whole picture here. Every perfect machine has a potential point of failure, right? And right now, the bond market is totally rebelling against this curated data narrative. Recently, the 2-year short-term Treasury yield spiked to around 4.2%, while the 30-year long-term yield barely moved. In the finance world, we call this a flattening yield curve. Investors are practically screaming that they expect inflation to remain hot and rates to stay higher for a lot longer. This is terrible news for the Fed's master plan. Commercial banks actually need a steeper yield curve where long-term rates are way higher than short-term ones to make a profit from the stealth quantitative easing we just talked about. And on top of that structural flaw,
Get a load of this. The United States must refinance a staggering $8 trillion in debt over the next year alone. $8 trillion. And they are trying to do this right when major foreign central banks have significantly backed off from buying our bonds.
So who on earth is actually buying the debt? Alarmingly, it's highly leveraged hedge funds based in the Cayman Islands that are propping up the bond market right now. According to Fed papers cited in the source, they've bought up about 37% of new government bonds since 2022. Guys, this creates a massive systemic risk. If the stock market drops and these funds get hit with margin calls, they'll be forced to liquidate those bonds. That would send yields skyrocketing and completely crash the Fed's stealth system.
Section 5. The oil price X factor. The geopolitical wild card. Look, all of these complex banking mechanics and fancy data theories, they are ultimately at the mercy of one physical commodity. As the source outlines chronologically here, global geopolitics is the ultimate wild card. Just recently, a deal between the U.S. and Iran to end hostilities broke down almost immediately. Israel continued military operations in Lebanon, and Iran threatened the Strait of Hormuz. This is a direct threat to global oil supply. And remember, the Fed's entire plan relies on telling a story of low inflation. If oil prices spike because of conflict, it completely destroys that low inflation narrative, meaning they can't lower rates.
And the urgency is very, very real. Political leadership has openly admitted that without stabilizing that region and keeping the ships moving, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve could run dry in roughly 4 weeks. Just 4 weeks. If those reserves run out, it could take months for shipping traffic and insurance markets to normalize again. We are talking about massive economic bedlam if oil spikes out of control.
Finally, Section 6, the Investor Survival Guide, Protecting Your Assets.
All right, so what do you actually do with all this information? How do you protect your assets as a private investor facing potential dollar devaluation? First, we have to look at history. History tells us that when a new Fed chair comes in and radically changes the rules, like dropping forward guidance and tweaking inflation metrics, the stock market can take some brutal double-digit hits in those first 3 months. Historically, the S&P 500 drops an average of 12% during these transitions. Under aggressive changemakers like Alan Greenspan, it dropped over 30%. Bottom line, volatility is coming. And here's what's really interesting and honestly a bit terrifying. The old safety net, it's completely gone. Private investors have always relied on this stocks down, bonds up inverse relationship to protect their portfolios. That has vanished. Recently, the S&P 500 fell significantly, and at the exact same time, bond yields spiked, which means bonds lost value too. You simply can no longer rely on traditional bonds to protect you when equities take a hit. So, to defend your wealth against the devaluation of the dollar, the source recommends watching some specific financial instruments. Analyst Luke Groman highlights 5 clear indicators you need to track to know if the Fed's stealth money printing is actually working. Keep your eyes peeled for a weaker U.S. dollar, higher stock market valuations, lower 10-year Treasury yields, higher gold prices, and higher Bitcoin prices. If you see these moving in those directions, you'll know the stealth liquidity is flowing. But, and this is a massive but, it is vital to note that recently, every single one of those 5 indicators did the exact opposite. The dollar went up, stocks went down, yields went up, and gold and Bitcoin dropped. What does that mean? It means the Fed's master plan is currently facing severe turbulence. At least for the moment, it is failing against harsh market realities. So I want to leave you with this final thought. As this epic conflict between the military complex and tech stability totally reshapes our global economy, and the central bank prepares to quietly launder liquidity through commercial banks, are you positioned to survive the stealth printing of the dollar? Keep a close eye on the data they choose to share with us, and an even closer eye on the data they choose to hide. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. See you next time.